Hey folks, welcome back to Major Time here in the tennis world. It is US Open week. Best week of the year? I don't know. But we're in the big city, the Big Apple. Well, at least I am virtually. And we're going to get into the draw. Because the draws come out. The US Open Twitter did some weird thing like, hey, if you retweet this 5,000 times, we'll release the draw today instead of tomorrow. And then they didn't get 5,000 retweets and they still released it. Kind of weird. But anyways, we're rolling with it. Welcome to the Slices coverage of the 2021 US Open, presented by our friends at Rally Tennis, legendary. So let's get into this draw. So who are the main challengers? I think you know who they are. So we're going to get into them, and we're going to see if the next gen can stop Novak Djokovic, one of the greatest champions we've ever seen, from achieving the record 21st Grand Slam. He looks poised to do it. They look like they're in the best place they've ever been to stop him. So it's going to be a battle. So let's get into this draw and into this tournament. Welcome to the show. Well, folks, I don't know about you, but I think there's going to be some new things happening at this year's US Open tournament. I don't think it'll be the Milk Crate Challenge. Can't see any players doing that, although that would be hilarious. But it just feels like this is a real transition tournament. Federer, Nadal, Serena, Venus, so many old legendary players that we've all watched for like 15, 20 years. Well, I haven't because I'm only 26, but they're not here. So it feels like, and Novak Djokovic is now like the oldest contender, whereas he hasn't been for, ever. So this is like a very kind of like a look into the future. Like I said, I feel like the next gen are poised in the strongest position they've ever been to stop Djokovic. So it's just an interesting look into the future, I think. So thanks for being here. If you're new to the channel, welcome to The Slice. Subscribe so you don't miss any news. Follow us on Instagram throughout this tournament for daily updates. We got lots of content coming on there. And The Slice's coverage of the 2021 tournament, like I said, is presented by Rally Tennis. If you're in the States, Rally Tennis is your app where you're going to find practice partners. You're going to find ways to get better at tennis through content, through discounts on equipment. It's just an amazing community sharing tennis app. So you're going to download it with the link below. And thank you to Rally Tennis for hooking us up and supporting the future of tennis media here at The Slice. So, folks, there's a lot riding on this tournament, obviously, especially for one man named Novak Djokovic, who is poised to become the all-time leader in the men's side of Grand Slams at 21. Rafa's had two chances to get 21, and he hasn't been able to do it. Will Novak on his first chance? He's won the other three tournaments this year. He's about to embark on his mission to get his Grand Slam. There's a lot riding on this tournament. There's also a lot riding for, a lot less riding, to be honest, but there is a lot riding for the next-gen players who have been knocking at the door very hard this whole year and have not been able to break through because of one bad man named Novak Djokovic. So, who's a contender and who's a pretender at this year's US Open? I think there's four players, and I think we all know who they are. It's Djokovic first, and this is in order, I think. Djokovic first, because of obvious reasons. Medvedev second. Not so obvious. Based on what we've seen in Cincinnati, the reason I have him second above Zverev is because he doesn't have to play Djokovic until the final because he's the number 2 seed. Then I have Zverev after him, and then I got Tsitsipas. To me, those four guys are the contenders. There's a couple pretenders. Berrettini, Shapovalov had amazing form at Wimbledon, obviously, and have really dropped off since then, but that could come back. So I think those are the two other guys who I have like a real outside dark horse chance. But mainly the top four guys are who we all know. So we're going to break down their routes to the final, what it looks like right now. So we're looking at Djokovic, the king, the big dog on campus right now. He's just walking around being like, look, can any of these young pups touch me? I don't think so. I've got 20 slams. None of them have a single slam, except for Martin Cilic, who, no respect, I don't think he's a contender. I don't want to say it, Martin. I'm sorry, but I don't think he's a contender. So, Djokovic's path to the final. Let's take a look at it. I think it's tough. I think it's the toughest it could have been with this current rankings setup. And I say that because the biggest part of this draw, the thing we were wondering about, was which side of the draw was Zverev going to be on. He's on the top. He's with Djokovic. And to me, he's honestly probably the biggest threat to Djokovic at this final, based on what we've seen from the Olympics on. So that's an interesting point for him. But let's just take a look at it. It'll be a qualifier. Could be a number of players. There's a lot of good qualifiers. But then Greek sport, it's Struff. Can't see a problem there for Djokovic at all. Then Goffin, he probably won't even be in the third round. If you're looking at the draw, it could be McDonald or Kei Nishikori, to be fair. He's been playing better, but got destroyed by Djokovic at the Olympics. So can't see much of a problem there. Then we got Karatsev or Demonauer, neither of whom have been in great form. So, but, could get better. But Karatsev really has dropped off since the beginning of the year. So until the quarterfinals, not too much of a challenge. So not the worst draw for him. Then therefore, no big surprises, I don't think. But then from the quarterfinals on, I do think it is the hardest potential route that he's had to a major in 2021 because Berrettini or Hurkacz both love the hard court and have played amazing so far on the hard courts, especially obviously Berrettini, especially at Wimbledon. Zverev, Shapovalov, but mostly Zverev is his biggest test. Like I've said, if he's playing well, he's the most informed player coming into this tournament on the hard courts in the semifinals. And then Medvedev obviously loves the hard courts. He has another Grand Slam final under his belt, and he has been playing amazing other than running into the camera in Cincinnati. Sasa Osmo, actually, great journalist from Serbia, disagreed with me on Twitter. He said, I think he thinks the French Open run was even harder. So what do you guys think? Which one's harder? I think this one could be as hard, but it depends. You have to count on these next-gen players making it all the way to the place that they should, and you can't ever really fully count on that. So that's Djokovic's route. I think it could have been easier. We'll see how it plays out, but it could be tricky, but it should be. It's a Grand Slam. So based on the field, this is about as tough as it could get for Nole, I think. Then to my second favorite, Daniil Medvedev. I think he's got a great draw for him. He's on the bottom half, obviously, so the best thing about his draw is that he doesn't have to play Djokovic to the final. So he's got Gasquet, who looks very tired. He's been playing well, actually, but very tired. Koepfer, and then Cilic, Dimitrov, Tiafoe, or Evans. I just don't think any of those players could pose a problem for him based on what we've seen. Even Ruud, Isner, Schwartzman in the quarterfinals, I can't see causing him a problem. There's really only one player on the bottom half who I think could touch Medvedev, and that's Tsitsipas. Obviously, he could do that, so that's going to be an interesting matchup in the semifinals if that does happen. So that's his only real threat. And then he's got the final. He's got the ultimate challenge in Djokovic, obviously, or somebody else if Djokovic just loses. But if Djokovic loses, we'll all just go crazy. It'll be one of the biggest news stories in the last super long time in tennis. So there's no ball kids, there is ball kids. There's no line judges, so Djokovic does have that to his benefit. That will hopefully help him get further in this U.S. Open than it did the last time. Then we got Zverev, who is, I think, the serious favorite until the semifinals, where it's, like I said, the ultimate test in Djokovic. So Zverev, it's all about him just staying strong and getting through these first rounds, getting momentum going, not expending too much energy, and staying fit. I wouldn't be doing it justice if I didn't bring up the allegations that Zverev is facing right now in the world of tennis. Ben Rothenberg from the New York Times, some of you like him, some of you hate him. He's a very divisive journalist. Wrote another piece detailing more allegations about Zverev from his ex-girlfriend, who goes by the name Olia. Domestic abuse is not cool. And if it's true that Zverev did this, he's an absolute animal, and I have zero respect for him. And, I would hope that the ATP would do something about it. The question is, what can the ATP do if these are true? And they've recently come out with some statements about protocols that they're going to be following. They're basically just acknowledging that it exists more than they have in the past. But the tough thing about this, in my opinion, is right now it's just his word versus her word. And Ben Rothenberg seems to be believing her words and not believing Zverev. So I don't know where to stand. I really don't think that, the ATP or tennis journalists and myself are in a place to judge this as far as legal matter. Obviously, the court of opinion, public opinion, does not look good for Zverev. But in my eyes, you are innocent until proven guilty. And that's just how it works, in the free world. But I do have to acknowledge these allegations. If they are true, he's an animal. And these allegations, I'm sure, are going to possibly affect him here at the U.S. Open. So that's an interesting thing to talk about. Obviously not a great situation there and has to be mentioned. Now moving on to Stefanos Tsitsipas' draw. He's got a Murray in the first round. So that's obviously, out of the first round spicy matchups that we will be posting on Instagram. Murray versus Tsitsipas is the epitome of spicy first round matchups. You don't want your first round matchup to be that interesting if you're Tsitsipas. So that's obviously rough for Murray, who I would have liked to see a little run here, but I do think he'll go out to Tsitsipas. Round 3 could be tough with Norrie or Alcaraz. Quarterfinals could be tough. Rublev, Felix, Auger-Aliassime, Kyrgios, or RBA. Tough quarterfinals. Semifinals obviously really tough with Medvedev, and then the final is the ultimate challenge again in Djokovic. So if we're looking at the 4 guys, like I've said, the 4 contenders out of who's got the hardest draw, I think probably Tsitsipas does, and then Djokovic, and then I think Medvedev probably has the easiest because he doesn't have to play as Zverev or Djokovic until the final. And like I said, I think there's only one person on the bottom who could touch Medvedev. So it's similar to the Australian Open in that sense. It was in, Tsitsipas obviously beat Rafa, but Zverev was on the top half, and he had a close match with Djokovic where he was actually ahead for most of that match. In 2 different sets, he had double break points, which he kind of choked on and didn't capitalize on that opportunity. That's a different scenario than we saw at the Olympics when he played Djokovic. So will Zverev be an actual threat to Djokovic at this year's Olympic or at this year's U.S. Open? You let me know. Let's quickly take a look at the potential quarterfinals because that always sets the tone for the draw. Djokovic, Berrettini, that's going to be big time. If Berrettini's playing well on a hard court and the courts are playing fast, from what I've heard from Brad Gilbert, BG Tennis Nation, who a friend of the show, he said the courts are looking extremely fast at this year's U.S. Open. So that's super interesting. Zverev, Shapovalov, that would be dynamite as well. If both players are playing good, that could go either way, but I'm definitely leaning Zverev based on what I've seen with my eyes recently. Rublev versus Tsitsipas. That's going to be tough. We just saw Rublev take out Medvedev in Cincinnati, but I think Medvedev was seriously hampered from running into that camera, which I hope he's recovered from, by the way, for the U.S. Open. If that could be a massive development. If he's not, haven't seen his pre-tournament press conferences yet. And then we got Ruud versus Medvedev. Like I said, if Medvedev is playing great, I don't know if Ruud can touch him right now, but interesting. You wouldn't be doing a draw preview if you didn't mention the spicy first round matchups, which I tweeted out. Also follow me on Twitter for in-match posts. Kyrgios, RBA, amazing matchup in the first round. Tough for both players. Murray versus Tsitsipas, we talked about. Isner versus Nakashima, tough in the first round. Norrie versus Alcaraz, that's tough. Fritz versus Demonauer. Brooksby versus Mikael Ymer. A lot of great matchups in the first. Holger Rune, our guy, is battling through qualifying right now. He's got his last match tomorrow. Hopefully he can make it through. He's looking very good. Prediction time. Djokovic to win. Until they do, I'm not counting on the next gen to beat one of these guys in the finals, especially Djokovic right now. He's just got a mental edge over all these young guys, and they can't touch him. So until they take him out, I won't believe they're going to do it. And I'm counting on Djokovic to get his 21st Grand Slam, to break another record, and to solidify himself in the minds of many people as the GOAT. But that debate will always rage on. But this will be another serious mark on his belt for Djokovic, obviously getting his 21st slam, getting the Grand Slam in 2021, the first time on the men's side or any side it's been done since like 1988, I think. Crazy stuff. Historic role. Djokovic has a lot of pressure on him at this year's U.S. Open. Will he live up to it? Let the games begin and we will see. Thanks for being here, folks. The coverage of the U.S. Open will be presented by Rally Tennis all the way through. Check out the link below. Get Rafa's new racket. Get all the new gear that you want from Courtside Sports for 10% off if it's brand new. It's a no-brainer. And thanks for being here. We will see you soon.